Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. This is our third in a series of Train the Trainer sessions for health promoters who are running Cook's networks in their long daycare centres. So we've provided all the resources you need to successfully run your Cook's network. So we're really excited to see the ongoing level of engagement we have for these Cook's networks. So this session follows on from our Cook's Connect launch event in March and delivery of the first two mini professional development sessions in April and in June. If you haven't had a chance, please watch the webinar recordings to understand the full capacity of Cook's Connect to support you on your Cook's network journey. So Kirsten's going to share the links for those recordings. So if you haven't seen those before, you're welcome to watch those afterwards to catch up on them. And so for those who are new to Cook's Connect or to HEAS, my name is Jodie McGough. I'm an accredited practicing dietitian and nutrition policy advisor for early childhood services and schools. I'm also joined by Kirsten Johnson, program manager for the Healthy Eating Advisory Service. So today I'll be running you through mini professional development session 3, managing fussy eating in long daycare. And just like the previous mini PD sessions, today's presentation will be recorded and provided as a training video for health promoters who are unable to attend today's live session. So before we get started, I think everyone's got themselves on mute now, so that's great. And Kirsten, if you're able to just watch anyone else coming through, if they might not be on mute, we can just mute them. Also, please feel free to use the chat function if you do have any questions. We're going to have plenty of time at the end to get through those. This won't take the full 45 minutes, so yeah, feel free to ask lots of questions. All right, and we will get started. So I would first like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting. So today I am presenting on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. We also welcome and encourage you to share the land on which you may be present today by adding this to your name on Teams, or you're welcome to share this in the chat function as well. So just a quick reminder to everyone of who the Healthy Eating Advisory Service are and the types of services we provide. So HEAS is delivered by experienced nutritionists and dietitians with support from the Victorian Government and offers free support for organisations to provide and promote healthier food and drinks. In early childhood, HEAS supports long daycare, kindergarten, family daycare and outside school hours care to promote and provide nutritious foods and drinks which support the growth and development of children. HEAS have a range of resources available for early childhood services, including the menu planning guidelines for long daycare, information on managing allergies and intolerances, online training modules, and a range of recipes to suit many dietary needs. The Food Checker is an online tool available for users to assess individual food, drinks, and menus against relevant government guidelines. In the long daycare setting, Food Checker can be used to plan and assess a menu according to the Victorian Government's menu planning guidelines. This can help the service to meet the healthy food and drink requirements of the national quality standards. So as mentioned before, this presentation is part of a suite of resources for health promoters to use to deliver their own Cook's network. As part of these resources, the Cook's Connect Toolkit is a valuable resource available to health promoters on the HEAS website. The toolkit provides all of the step-by-step guidance and resources a health promoter needs to set up a successful Cook's network. The aim of setting up and facilitating a Cook's network is to provide an opportunity for cooks to come together, form a collaborative community, and share their knowledge and develop their skills. The network can offer cooks a supportive environment to build their confidence and capacity in topics which are most relevant to them. These mini PD sessions have been co-designed alongside health promoters, covering popular topics and making it easier for you to become the subject matter experts. Available on the HEAS website, you will now have access to the first two mini PD sessions on the menu planning guidelines and how to use Food Checker in the long daycare setting. And you can use those links that Kirsten has copied into the chat to find those on the website. So we've been so pleased to see the level of interest and enthusiasm for Cooks Connect since launching in March. So since our last Train the Trainer session, we've been very excited to launch the new Cooks Network directory on the HEAS website. So cooks and educators working in long daycare can use the directory to find an existing Cooks network near them. So far, we have 7 networks across Victoria listed on our directory, and we're hoping to continue adding more networks to the list. So if you're currently running a Cooks network, or if you have plans to launch one soon, we'd love to hear from you if you'd like your network also listed on our website. So as health promoters too, you might also like to use this directory yourself to reach out to other health promoters already running a network. This is a great way to share ideas, experiences with each other, especially when starting a network for the first time. So we've been able to speak to many of you already who are currently running Cooks networks, and here are the varied ways these are being facilitated. Some are held in person, while other times the meetings are being facilitated online. Depending on how many cooks are attending, you may be able to present and facilitate the meeting on your own, or you may be able to use the help of another health promoter in your organisation. Some existing Cooks networks have also had dietitians attend and co-facilitate if this is appropriate to your session. So now I'm going to take you through this third mini professional development session HEAS has developed for your network. So the aim of mini PD session 3 is to increase long daycare cooks' understanding of fussy eating, why it is common in young children, and to provide them with the skills needed to support children to learn about new foods and develop long-term positive relationships with food. I will walk you through the resources available as part of this package, including the lesson plan, supporting video content, activity sheets, additional HEAS resources, some example questions and discussion points, ideas for collecting feedback, and finally, the certificate of attendance, which is available for all cooks who attend the network. So everything you need to facilitate this mini PD can be found in the lesson plan. And if you've previously attended our last 2 mini PD sessions, or maybe you've already accessed the resources to host your own Cooks network on the HEAS website, you may be familiar with the layout of this lesson plan. But for those of you who might not yet have visited our website to access the mini PD resources, I'm going to show you how to navigate the Cooks Connect Health Promoter section on HEAS's website. I'm going to flick over to the HEAS website, and maybe just a nod from Kirsten that you can see that. Fantastic. So this is our home page. We've got a handy little tool up the top. We can click on I'm working in. We can find early childhood services right up the top. And almost towards the bottom, we've got our health promoter resources right here. And if we scroll down a little bit, we've got everything on Cooks Connect. So we'll click on Find Out More. A bit more information on what Cooks Connect is, how it came to be, and just a bit more of an introduction. As we get about halfway down, we can find the Cooks Network directory here. So you can click on that to have a look at some of the existing networks. And as we get further down the page, we will find our professional development series. So as we mentioned before, we've got mini professional development 1 and 2 already uploaded, and we've now got mini professional session number 3. So I will open this up to show you what it looks like. So everything you need for this fussy eating session can be found on this web page here. The lesson plan is the first thing that will come up, so we can click on that one. Or if you do scroll a little bit further down, it will just tell you a little bit more about what's involved in the session. And it's also where we will find a lot of the additional resources we've provided. So we've got a couple of worksheets and answer sheets, our professional development survey and certificate of completion. We've also provided an instructional PowerPoint for this mini PD session with some great feedback that we received from another health promoter that it's really helpful to have a PowerPoint to structure your Cooks Network's meetings. So we've designed that one for you this time too. So I'll pop open the lesson plan, and maybe Kirsten, give me a little nod if that looks all good. Fantastic. So this is a lesson plan here, and it's a document which will guide you through how to run the mini PD session within your Cooks Network. So it contains or links you to all the information and expertise you'll need, including background information, instructional videos, guided activities, and worksheets. So depending on how you choose to deliver your Cooks Network, you can use this guide face-to-face or you can use it online as well. So as we start to scroll down, we can see the structure a little bit further down. We can see the structure and content of the sessions here in this table. So it describes all the topics, activities involved, and suggested allocation of time to spend in each section. So the lesson plan also advises on the materials required throughout the sessions. So this could be activity sheets, answer sheets, supporting resources from HEAS. And again, if you previously attended our last Train the Trainer session, you will notice a really similar look and feel to this lesson plan to the other ones as well. So I will stop sharing this one. I'll flick back to the PowerPoint. All good there, Kirsten? All right, so the first part of the session aims to provide cooks with an understanding of what fussy eating is. So we have prepared an instructional video which can be played for the cooks to watch at the start of your session. The video provides an overview of what fussy eating is, why some children are fussy with food, and the importance of implementing a whole of service approach. The video also emphasises that sometimes fussy eating might not be typical toddler fussiness, indicating a bigger underlying issue. So it's important for cooks to know that they aren't expected to fix fussy eating and that it's important to raise these concerns with the child's parents or guardians. So once the video is finished, you can then move on to completing the first activity. So this activity looks at the sensory exploration of food. And so the aim is to imagine we are trying a new food for the first time, just like many of the children attending the service will be. The sensory exploration activity aims to help cooks take a step back from the usual process of eating food, which usually involves our two-step process of putting food in our mouth and eating it. So many children will take a few more steps when trying new foods, and we might often see them poking food, squeezing it, playing with it, smelling it, all the other ways that they use their senses when exploring a food for the first time. So the example food in the activity we've provided is coriander. However, this is an example only. So you can ask the cooks to bring in any food which is new to them, or perhaps something they've eaten in the past and they didn't particularly enjoy. So the activity can also still work if the cooks use a food they regularly eat. The main goal is actually that cooks use a sensory exploration approach to eating the food. So even if they use a food they like, they will still experience senses with the food they probably haven't considered before. You can still complete this activity online too. It's okay if everyone has a different food, as all the cooks will have their own unique sensory experience to the foods that they choose to use. So an answer sheet is then available for health promoters to refer to while assisting the cooks as they complete this activity. The answer sheet provides a bit more guidance on how you might like to present this activity. You can use the suggested script provided when talking through each of the sensory steps. So the activity is very subjective and there aren't really any right or wrong answers. However, some people might find this activity challenging. As adults, we typically don't use many descriptors when we're eating food. So we have provided a few example descriptors to use when you do complete this activity. Sorry. So once the first activity is completed, you can then move on to part 2. So this follows a similar structure to part 1, where we begin with an instructional video already prepared and recorded for you by the HEAS team. This video will provide some strategies to implement in the menu planning and cooking process when considering how to support fussy eaters. The video aims to help cooks understand the benefits of providing young children with options and choices during a mealtime, and to also consider alternative ways to serve meals and snacks. Yep, don't want to play that. Sorry. So there are 2 slides during this video where we recommend you pause for discussion with the cooks. So the first discussion point is about the practice of hiding vegetables in meals. And the second discussion point is about providing on-demand alternatives when children refuse to eat what is served. This is a great opportunity to hear from cooks about 2 very common practices we hear are methods being used in the long daycare setting. Following the discussions, you can resume the video to hear the advice provided on these topical practices. So the second activity asks cooks to think about different ways to serve meals. Quite often, cooks can become stuck with the meals they are serving at their centre and struggle with inspiration. We have heard from existing networks that cooks really value the opportunity to share ideas and experiences with other cooks. This activity is an opportunity for the cooks to come together, share some ideas of the meals they are preparing, and think of new ways to serve food to children. The first question of the activity provides cooks with an example recipe. We have included a recipe for fish curry from the Heath website. However, you can use any recipe you might know to be common amongst your cooks. The activity is to then think of different ways to serve the meals to the children. Some of the strategies provided in this video are to include familiar foods with each meal served, also provide optional sides, and to deconstruct the main meal where possible. The second question the cooks are then asked is to list down some of their more common meals and again think of some alternative ways to serve the meal. Cooks could complete these questions individually and then come together at the end to discuss their responses, or you could have an open discussion with the cooks for both the questions from the start. Sorry. So similar to activity one, we've provided an answer sheet for health promoters to use during this activity. The answer sheet provides many ideas and suggestions for how common meals can be served in different ways. And these take into considerations the different needs for all children. And just like with activity one, there may be many more examples and answers which the cooks may provide themselves. So the final video in this series looks at the mealtime environment. Although many cooks don't have the opportunity to sit with the children when they are eating, we encourage the cooks and educators to work together using a whole of service approach when addressing fussy eating concerns. So the video discusses a common responsive feeding practice known as the division of responsibility and highlights the role cooks play in this feeding dynamic. As mentioned before, it's really important for cooks and also educators to not feel a sense of responsibility when children refuse to eat. As they will have heard in the first video, there are many reasons why a child might not be eating when attending long daycare. It's really important for cooks and educators to raise these concerns with the child's parent or guardians. There may be times when the help and support of medical or allied health professionals is required when supporting a child with feeding challenges. The final activity is actually set up as a facilitated discussion to have with the cooks attending your network meeting. So we have prepared 3 prompts to ask your cooks with the aim of generating further interaction. So as we know, cooks find it really beneficial to hear of the stories and experiences from the other cooks. We've also provided some suggested answers for each of these discussion points as well. So this final activity can be found in the lesson plan rather than as a separate activity and answer sheet. So once you have finished these activities, you may like to finish up your session with some question and answer time with the cooks. Again, we have provided some suggested questions you might like to use, or you may have a few questions in mind you'd like to bring up for discussion. We really encourage as much discussion and collaboration between the cooks as possible. The feedback we've been receiving from the existing cooks networks is that cooks are really enjoying and really valuing this time to reflect on their experiences, share ideas, and collaborate with other cooks. So we've also added a few frequently asked questions to this mini PD. So discussing feeding practices can sometimes bring up a few more questions, and we've covered these most common ones that we often get asked. So you could choose to go through these frequently asked questions with the cooks during the question and answer time or any other time through your network, or perhaps you do only want to refer to them if they do come up as questions from the cooks. So at the end of the session, we encourage you to provide cooks with the following resources to support their learning. So Heath have many resources available on the website for cooks and educators to refer to, including introducing new foods to children, cooking with kids, and the veg kit resources. So links to all of these resources can all be found in the lesson plan as well as on the Heath website. We also recommend collecting feedback at the end of your Cooks Network meeting. This is a great opportunity to hear from cooks on the usefulness of the sessions and to ensure the content and activities are meeting their needs. A survey can assist with evaluating the effectiveness of Cooks Network, and you may also be able to use this for your internal reporting requirements. So HESA's developed some sample survey questions you may like to use, but you can also include questions you feel are more relevant to your organisation and to your Cooks Network. So there's many different ways, different survey methods you might choose to use, such as SurveyMonkey, MS Forms. You can even print out a hard copy evaluation form for your cooks to complete at the end of your session. So lastly, we have created editable certificates of completion for you to present to the cooks at the end of the session. These certificates acknowledge and reward the cooks for participating in their professional development session, and we encourage them to display this at their childcare service. So the certificate is available for download on the HEAS website and is editable for you to include your organisation's logo, the cook's name, and the date of completion. And that concludes our presentation. We have come to the end on talking about managing fussy eating in long day care. So thank you so much again to everyone for prioritising this in your day. I really hope that you found this presentation helpful and inspiring for your next Cooks Network event. And as always, we're really keen to hear if you are using these mini PD sessions and any feedback that you might have.